Hello everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to today's live stream. I have Dan Shapiro, the CEO, here with me. My name is Ellen and I'm here to talk to all of you through social media, but also help run this live stream. So I know you have a whole ton of questions. We had 425 signups with over 350 questions. So hopefully we can get a lot of your questions answered. So with that, let's get started.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I know we've got all these questions, but don't hesitate to ask. We're going to try and squeeze in as many questions as we got that were asked ahead of time, as many questions as we can that you're asking right now, and at the same time, print a whole bunch of cool stuff. So just to give you the lay of the land here, we've got a Glowforge Basic, we've got a Glowforge Plus, we've got a Glowforge Pro, and we are going to try and put them all to work so you can see lots of stuff printed. And our brilliant designer and camera person, Shell, has actually created something special for us here for this live stream that we're going to give away to all of you. We'll make the PDF available so you have it. You can see how a file's put together. You can see what a design looks like. Shall we take a look?
Yes.
Ellen, do you want to pull out?
I'm so excited.
We'll show you the finished project first. We're going to sneak peek what comes at the end, and then we'll show you how it's all made. Oh my gosh, Ellen, look at that. That is amazing.
This is so incredible. This is the first time I'm seeing this. Shell, you did such an amazing job. She's behind the camera, so you guys can't see her, but she designed this. So I'm really excited to get started printing on this. So I guess the first question we kind of had was, how easy is it to set up your Glowforge?
How easy is it to set up your Glowforge? So what we hear from most of our customers is it takes about 30 minutes from the time that FedEx drops the box at your door until you are holding your first print in your hand. And of course, we give you your first print, your second print, your third print, everything you need to get started. But that's enough time to open the box, lift it up. We recommend 2 people to lift it up onto the table, open the user interface, go through our tutorial, and actually create that first print, which I think our recommended first print is this really cool keychain, the Gift of Good Measure. That's actually, it's about this big, and it has measuring, it has hole sizes and measurements and all that. And you'll have that in about 30 minutes from the time you've got it to set up. People tell us it's easier than setting up a modern television, which is kind of faint praise because those things can be a giant pain in the neck. But let's show what it actually looks like to print something. So to start out, we're going to put some material in. Let's start at the top. Let's start with a Pro. So I'm going to open the Glowforge Pro and grab a sheet of material. Now, I think we're going to start out with a piece of thick walnut plywood. So this is a really beautiful material. Now, it looks like it's just white. That's because the proof grade material that we sell has this protective coating on it, and it has a barcode on it to identify what the material is. Of course, you don't have to use proof grade material from us. Got a Home Depot across the street, you can go over there, you can buy plywood, whatever works. But I love this stuff because you just put it in, close the lid, and your Glowforge immediately figures out what material you've got, what settings you need, and it's ready to go. That white masking also means that it protects it through the printing process so that you've got an even more beautiful result when it's done.
Okay, so this barcode right here is automatically read by the Glowforge to put in your settings for that proof grade material, and so you get basically the perfect print every time.
Exactly. So let's open up. I'm going to start a print here, and we can go and check out the interface. So the software that you need to print comes free forever with every Glowforge. This is app.glowforge.com, and once you're a Glowforge owner, you can come here anytime, and it's got all the things you've printed. Now, as you can see, I've already loaded up some of these things. I'm going to start with lamp thick walnut, this file right here. So you're going to see everything necessary to set up a print and make this work. I'm going to switch to Livestream Pro. As you can see, if you've got more than one printer, they're all there ready. And here is the design. You can see the visuals, you can see the cutouts, and I'm actually going to change this one part right here. See the part that's teal? I'm going to change that from a cut to a score. Now, cutting uses the laser at the highest power setting. It can actually cut through this 1/4 inch plywood. Scoring uses a much lower power setting, so it can actually draw thin lines on the material.
Okay, cool.
Now, if I want to, I can drag this around. I can put this into place. Like if I was using scrap material to save on dollars and to save the environment, I could position this right exactly on, but all I have to do is put it where it is and click the print button.
That's awesome.
And let's go.
Okay.
So right now we're sending the design over to the Glowforge Pro. Every Glowforge is connected via Wi-Fi, and it's hosted in Google's server cloud. So right now, Google's server cloud is calculating the design that we just printed and sending the instructions down to this machine so that it's ready to print.
Okay.
Well, how do we know when it's ready to print? It's pretty simple. There's just one button and it lights up. So when that starts glowing, that means our print is ready. Okay. And it'll be sending it down. It usually takes about a minute. We're actually upstairs in Glowforge headquarters, which can be a little bit slow Wi-Fi, so it may be an extra minute or two before we see it.
Print.
Oh, what's that?
Oh, we actually didn't hit print.
Oh, okay, great.
Accidentally have to tap.
Forgot one step, yes. So we hit print, so it's sending down. Now, there's a lot of things that can go wrong when you make stuff. If you've got scissors, you can suddenly, shake your hands and accidentally cut something. If you're using a saw, you may cut in the wrong direction or have splinters fire. We tried to make using a Glowforge as absolutely simple and foolproof as possible. So what's happening right now is the optic systems are aligning themselves. It already loaded up the correct material settings. It's already loaded for walnut plywood, and it's auto-focusing. So it's actually moving the focusing lens up and down so that you have a perfect print every time.
That's awesome. I'm seeing the magic button is glowing over here.
That's about time.
May I do the honors?
Please.
All right.
There's only one button, so there is nothing to think about other than pushing it when it lights up.
All right, fantastic. That's super cool. All right, so I guess since we're printing on proof grade walnut right here, I know that a lot of people have questions about using your proof grade material or if they can use their own materials. So what does that look like on things such as rocks? I know Marcos had a question about that.
Yeah, I think we had over 100 questions about different materials. So we're going to try and get through as many as we can. Rocks, actually, do you want to take rocks? I know you've seen some pretty cool slating.
I have. So one of my favorite things to look through on social media is #Glowforge on Instagram, but we also have an amazing gallery where Glowforge owners can upload their photos to our website. So I've seen some super incredible prints on rocks. I know that people just pick up some stones off of their local river and then they'll print something on it. I saw a really beautiful turtle print on a rock before. So it's just a matter of getting those settings, and then the forum is an amazing place to find other people's projects and then find kind of what they've been experimenting with. So I know that's been really incredible.
I see Jesse in chat was asking about copy paper, just regular paper like you're going to buy in a ream. And oh my gosh, Jesse, perfect setup, because we will print something on copy paper for you. In fact, we could even get that started right now.
Yeah.
Paper's really quick, and let's throw that into the basic over here and cut some paper.
Yeah.
Shall we?
So another incredible print that we've got ready for you guys is kind of an invitation idea. So I wanted to show this to you, Dan, because Shell made this as well. And so basically, this card can be given at any time. I was thinking that I would actually make one of these for my friend's housewarming party coming in for this weekend. They just bought their first home, and so I wanted to kind of give them something special and see what that would kind of look like.
That looks fantastic. So this is paper and wood combined, is that right?
Yes, so it looks like we've got this beautiful paper on the top, and this is a little bit printed. So Shell has also conveniently made this version of us that doesn't have the paint. So I'm really excited to kind of show you guys what the function of trace is for this one, because I know we've got some really interesting questions about trace. So let's get started with just seeing what it looks like to print on paper right now.
Fantastic. All right, so we'll queue up the paper in the software.
Yes.
And you're going to recognize this process because it looks just like the last time we did it.
All right.
So I'm going to open up the paper design. And in this case, I'm going to connect to, you can see, by the way, there's 42 minutes and 52 seconds left, so I can see who's printing. I'm going to go to our basic machine. And you can see there's the camera image of the material ready to go. Again, trying to make this as simple as possible. We want to give you this image of exactly what's there so that you know where to position the design on the paper.
Okay.
In this case, I've actually loaded up the settings for chipboard, and I'm going to enter those in by clicking here. And oh, it looks like I don't have it on this machine. So I'm going to show you how you can actually design new settings for material that's not there. You can open up manual settings and then enter speed and power. Now, if I just went and bought this paper from the copy shop and I don't know how it's going to work, I'm going to start out with fast, high speed, and low power. So I might start out with a power of 1 or 2 and a higher speed. And then if it cuts through, I'm good to go. If it doesn't cut through all the way, I'll try again at a higher speed. And so this might take a few minutes, it might take you half an hour to dial in a new material for the first time. And once you have, then you can save those material settings for later. And once you got it, you can actually say every time, okay, I've saved that as chipboard or paper, and I'm going to go pick those settings.
Fantastic.
Shell just typed in the settings that she used before, and she did one more thing. She used this set focus. That actually lets you pick a spot and say, I want to focus exactly on that spot. It's optional. It'll automatically pick a spot, but that gives you a more accurate preview, so we know exactly where it's going to land when we're done. So that's, I've entered the settings for this material. This isn't proof grade paper, this is just paper that we found. And I'm going to hit print right now to go send that design up to the cloud, and it'll send it down to this Glowforge.
Okay, cool. So I noticed that you added another Glowforge to that interface and just selected in between the app. I had no idea that you could be connected to multiple machines at once. So
yeah, right now I've got all 3 of these. I've got the Glowforge units down in the lab. Most people are only are not lucky enough to have access to a bunch, but here it's like a cooking show. We want to show you all the different pieces and how they all come together. So we've got 3 running all at the same time. And if you're a school or a makerspace, this actually lets you control a whole fleet of these from one simple software interface. I see the button lit up. Let's go cut some paper.
Okay, sounds great. Here we go.
All right. I get the camera over here and get ready to hit
We'll get
print.
Shell right over here. All right. Okay, here we go. And we're ready to cut some cardstock. I know Jesse had a lot of questions about cutting sheets of paper, cardstock, photo mats. So is there kind of a limit to what kind of paper that you have to use, or is it just kind of anything?
You know, we've tried a whole host of different papers and found that most of them work really well. If you've got really light paper, this is actually a little heavier, this is more like a cardstock, but if you're cutting something like copy paper, you'll want to use a few pieces of tape to hold it down so it doesn't flutter around while you're printing. But you can use cardstock, you can use matte board. I've used watercolor paper, which is really lovely, and then you can do cool stuff with it afterwards. So you've got a lot of choices. You can also engrave on it when you're done. We'll do some engraving shortly, but engraving actually lets you take a high resolution bitmap, text, image, and engrave that onto the surface of the paper. And the Glowforge is precise enough that it can actually control the power of the laser such that it will engrave the paper but not cut all the way through.
Okay.
Oh, and while we're talking about materials, we were talking about stone. We actually have an example here that we can show you.
Oh yeah, I forgot that we've got this over on the side table.
So this is slate tile. You can go buy slate tiles for 50 cents from the local store. Throw a little rubber feet on them, and it costs almost nothing. But it gives you something absolutely unique as a host or hostess gift, as something that you can take, as something to personalize your dinner table or game night. And this is absolutely permanent. It changes the color of the surface and that will never come off. So while you can't cut stone, you can absolutely create amazing things from stone products.
Speaking of party, let's get that invitation or card print started. So I'm really interested in kind of putting this together. So let's get this wood print started.
Oh,
and start to kind of put our little card together.
Fantastic.
Okay.
So we'll grab a piece of wood. For this, we're going to use another proof grade material, our medium basswood hardwood. It's a very light colored material. It's great, shows up in graves really brilliantly. And I'm going to put it in our Glowforge Plus. So what you'll see is when I close the lid, the lights come up and it takes a picture of the surface. That's one of the things that makes this so easy to use, is that by having a picture available, it makes layout and design as simple as coming up with a design, and I know we've got some great questions about design, coming up with a design, putting it on the material, and hitting print.
Okay, great.
Oh, let's not forget to talk about this, because I know we had this running in a YouTube ad. and we have lots of questions about this. It's a great example of how you can take an amazing commercial product and actually customize it by using the laser to go vaporize the surface paint, which gives you this beautiful metal finish on it. So this is a flask with a logo engraved on it. Put that back here. Now let's go set up the wood engraving.
Yes.
We're going to go through the same process we did before. And actually, we're going to go to select the plus. And again, we're going to choose the design. Now this is a little different because we have an engraving as well as a cut line. So first, I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees.
Oh wow, I had no idea you could do that.
Yeah, and the software for this is all included at no charge with your Glowforge, so that the layout and design is easy. I was just using the arrow keys to move it around. You see I can move that. And I have different setting choices. So by default, it's going to give me a beautiful engrave, but let's go for broke. I'm going to use the highest resolution setting, which will take a little longer, but it's going to give me an even more beautiful, smooth result.
Okay, so you're talking about resolution settings. Can you answer a couple questions about what kind of software it looks like to put your image on, what kind of image file type that Glowforge takes? I know we have a lot of questions about that too.
Absolutely. So let me send this print over to the machine, and just like before, I hit the button and it's going to send it over. And let's talk about how each and every one of you can design for Glowforge. So one of the neat things about this tool is that because it can take two-dimensional files, you can use just about any software to create Glowforge designs.
Okay.
As long as it can save the results as a PDF or as a JPEG, you're able to cut and engrave the designs of what you create. So the software that our customers use most is probably either Adobe Illustrator, which is part of the Photoshop and Creative Suite family, or Inkscape, which is free to use online. And that's really great because this is a vector program. It's easy to create cut lines, score lines, engravings, and so on. We also have customers who use Photoshop, which is really the best tool for when you're engraving pictures. But then kind of anything's the limit. We have customers who are using advanced CAD software, which you can then either print to a PDF or export as any format and convert to a PDF or an SVG. And you can use that to create incredibly complicated three-dimensional products and then break those out into pieces that individually get printed. You can also use software that's as simple as PowerPoint. So there are an increasing number of Joann stores around the country. You know, great place to go for crafts and fabric and hobbies that have Glowforge units available. And one of the software programs they use most there is PowerPoint because it lets you draw a circle, type some text, save as a PDF, and suddenly you've got an amazing coaster, you've got an amazing luggage tag, you've got an amazing keychain, a beautiful craft design that you can make with very little experience in almost no time. But then, of course, you can do truly amazing prints like this dollhouse back here.
Yeah, let's hit print on this just really quickly, and then let's
All
take
right,
a look
we'll
at
get the
some of
wood
our
print
really
started.
huge, projects that we've got. All right, so just as easy as pushing that button and
Absolutely.
then letting the Glowforge go.
And it's going to come over, it's going to start engraving. Now, we haven't seen engraving before. If we get a close-up of this actually moves the laser back and forth, pulsing thousands of times a second to create a bitmap or an image that's an accurate representation of whatever you put in. So it's perfect for text, it's perfect for photos, it lets you get really precise, but it's also one of the slower operations. So when you're engraving, it's going to take longer than cutting. Cutting is actually the fastest thing you can do, and engraving takes more time. So you can see it's going back and forth and pulsing. Sorry, I know we've got the camera there is jumping around a little bit, but it's pulsing very quickly, and you'll see, and now it's covering a wider ground, that it's going to give you a very accurate engraving of the text we put in there. So we'll let that run,
Okay,
and
great.
come back a little bit and see how it's unfolding.
Yeah, so what is the average kind of print time that we have on, I guess, the majority of prints?
Yeah, one of the things that lots of our customers want to use, whether they're just making something for their child and they want it to be beautiful and they want that instant gratification, or whether they're creating a business and they're actually printing hundreds or thousands of earrings or wallets to go sell online on Etsy or on eBay is, well, how long does it take? Our average print time for every Glowforge everywhere is about 12 minutes. It takes about 12 minutes to print on average, but there's an enormous amount of variation. You can print something like our paper print, which is done, and we'll actually grab it in just a second. That only took 3 minutes. On the other hand, something really spectacular like this dollhouse. Okay, wait, we have to go back here because it's hard to get a sense of the scale without us standing next to it.
Yes.
This dollhouse was an entire weekend to print. And the enormity and scale of this, to go create something like this and put this together, is a project that you can do with a family and take an incredible, like you can take many hours of going and playing together. So each piece of this print was about 15 minutes, but the entirety of it took a full weekend.
Okay.
Perhaps the longest you might spend is if you're doing a giant engrave, something that's like 10 by 18 inches. That might take you as long as 3 hours to do a really huge, beautiful, high-resolution engrave. So it all depends on what you're doing, but the average print time is going to be about 12 minutes. Oh, while I'm walking over here, somebody asked about copy paper. This is actually just notebook paper. You can see how light and delicate it is. This is the rose window from Notre Dame Cathedral. And, let's see. There we go. Make sure it's focused there. And it's actually just from the Wikipedia page, taking that design and then cutting that into everyday notebook paper to give you something really transformative and beautiful. But it's just regular copy paper. I literally pulled out of our copier at the office.
Speaking of the paper, let's go check out that cardstock that we were printing earlier.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I'm very excited for this.
So, you know what? Let's get the camera over here. This is my favorite part, lifting out the finished product. Do you want to do the honors?
Yes. All right, here we go. Oh wow, that came out so easily. I'm always surprised at what an easy pull that is.
Oh, now tell me about that middle bit.
So when Shell designed this, she was thinking that this would be a fantastic kind of gift to bring, and that in order to make sure that we never waste materials, which sometimes if you'll ever see us on Instagram, we'll show some photos of people using every single piece of their material. So one thing that Dan was doing earlier was moving those design around up and down with the arrow keys. So as a result, he was able to kind of move things in different places to make sure that we use all the material. So this was just another kind of ode to the fact that we want to make sure that you can use every single piece of your material the most effective way that you possibly can. So
I'm gonna give a pro cleanup tip here for those watching. For those of you who've used a Cricut or a vinyl or paper cutter, taking the little bits out is miserable and takes forever. With a Glowforge, you just use a piece of tape and it's super easy to go clean up the mess. You can also pull out the entire tray every once in a while and give it a good shake. Anything that falls through those slats will drop in the bottom, and then the whole tray comes out and you just give it a shake right into the garbage and back as good as new.
Perfect. All right, well, let's do one of the other features that I know that people are really interested in, which is trace. So do you want to tell me a little bit more about what trace is?
You know what? I think let's trace onto the wood when it's done.
Okay.
I think it's still going. Can we show this engrave unfolding? So this engraving, as we were talking about, is actually pulsing the laser very quickly to create the precise results that you see. And because engravings typically take a little longer, you saw that the paper cutting was done in just 3 minutes. This is a little longer. I think it was about 10 minutes total, mostly because of the engraving. The actual cutting is going to go very fast. And when it's done, we can actually use that trace option to go personalize this tag and put the names on it. Oh my gosh, look at all the questions that have been popping up. What should we tackle next?
All right, well, I know that Dewey was asking if we could engrave curved surfaces. I get a lot of questions on social too, asking about, something like this.
Absolutely. So short answer is yes. The longer answer is it depends how curved. So if you measure from the bottom of the curve to the top of the curve, about 1/4 inch works great, and it can kind of handle up to about 1/2 inch, although at that point you're pushing it a little bit. You can also use thicker materials. So the Glowforge is able to autofocus over about 1/2 inch, but if you want to engrave something thicker, you can pull the tray out and then set this in, just put a little stand underneath it to hold it up. And so you can print on something that's thicker. You can see this is thicker than 1/2 inch. And so that lets you do curved things, it lets you do thicker things. You've got a whole host of tools for engraving all sorts of different objects.
All right, so speaking of thickness, we had another question about what is the maximum thickness of material that you can cut on, engrave on? What does that kind of look like?
So we support material up to 1/4 inch thick. In fact, that's what we're cutting right now. If you want to come over and take a look, maybe for people who are just joining us, this is 1/4 inch plywood that we're cutting through. And you can see how fast it's going with the 45 watts of laser power in the Glowforge Pro here. And so that's 1/4 inch plywood. We have customers who are cutting oak boards that are 1/2 inch thick. And so it's possible to get through really substantial building materials and create heavy, enormous objects out of that. And then it can go all the way down to the thickness of a sheet of paper. That's for cutting. For engraving, you have the option of removing the tray and engraving things that are up to 2 inches tall. So that lets you do laptops, that lets you do stones, that lets you do flasks like we were seeing. It gives you a whole host of options.
Okay, cool. So I guess tell me more about laptops. I know that we get a lot of questions about what it looks like to engrave on devices.
Oh yeah.
So what are the settings for those? What does that look like?
So I'll show you a couple of examples here. This is my actual phone.
Oh
you
my
can see
gosh.
this is a Pixel 2. And let's see, we'll get the shell cam on there. And you can see that's engraved right into the back. And so there are settings for the Pixel 2 and for some models of iPhone already loaded into the interface. So when you get your Glowforge, you can just pick that as an option and it's ready to go. I'll give you an example of an iPhone as well. Here's an iPhone that you can see has had the background engraved into it.
Oh, wow.
Now I should mention, my favorite thing about this isn't the iPhone, it's the whole bag.
Oh my gosh.
This is an entirely custom leather bag created entirely on a Glowforge. And when I say custom, it fits exactly all the things I want to keep in it. It has a pouch that fits my laptop. It has my secret document pouch zippered up. It has the shoulder strap that's designed for my shoulder, and even this, it lets me slide it over a piece of luggage when I'm traveling and can wheel it along.
Wow, that's really cool. So I had no idea that you could cut on leather. Basically, can you also engrave on leather?
Yeah, and you can see some of the personalization here where we've actually engraved the Glowforge logo on it. Another really neat trick is you can engrave a piece of acrylic, turn it into a stamp, and then emboss the leather with the acrylic. So you have your choice of techniques.
Oh, wow, that's really cool. Okay, well, let's check on our print and see how that's going over here. It looks like our wood print has finished up. So we can pull that out, it looks like.
Oh, wow. All right. So we've got this first wooden piece done. We've got the paper piece done. Do you want to pull that out and
Yes.
we can see what that looks
Get
like?
started on that.
One of the neat things about working with Glowforge is you can make a fairly simple version straight out of the gate, and then if you have the artistic skill of somebody like our designer Shell here, you can really embellish it with your own beauty and design, where you can see this just had some paint applied, but it really transforms and elevates it. So you can see how we printed this design on the material. Now, I mentioned before that the material we sell, the proof grade material, actually has a paper protective coating on it, and that is the reason that this discoloration right here does not wind up on your final print. And again, duct tape is kind of the magic to help make everything easier. You can see as we reveal the gorgeous hardwood plywood that's underneath the sticker here.
That's great.
And so we'll peel this off. And do we have the paper? We can start to see how this is going to come together.
Yeah, so
again, this design is one we're actually going to share with all of you. So you will be able to not just print this for yourself, but you'll be able to see how these designs go together. And because it's just a PDF, you're going to be able to look at the design and say, oh, I get it. That's something I could do. Even if we even as you just have the design from us. So here we go. There's also this cool piece that goes on top. That's going to be this decorative piece that's going to go on top, and I think one of our designers is going to assemble that for us while we go. But there's one more thing we want to add. You were talking about trace.
Yeah, so I have a housewarming party to go to. Some of my friends just bought their first home, so I kind of wanted to give them something special to welcome them into their first home. So I was thinking I would do something with trace. So I'm pretty new to this, but I think all I have to do is draw on some material.
Absolutely.
Glowforge will read it, and then we'll put it straight on the tag.
That's it.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna put first home 2019, and then maybe I'll draw a little heart here.
Fantastic.
And so we'll put this in the Glowforge right next to the material that we're going to engrave on.
All right.
So we'll stick that in there, and then show me how it's done.
Yeah, you know, we had some questions earlier about what kind of software you need to use, but my favorite software is a pen. It's something that everybody knows how to use, and it's something that makes it incredibly simple to go create beautiful designs. So I'm going to go back to our basic right there, and I'm going to say that I want to trace something.
Okay.
Now, again, this is all free software that's included with your Glowforge, and it just lets me pick a part of the design.
Wow.
If I want to, I can make it darker or brighter. If I want to, I could cut out the center of the heart. Just by clicking on it, it cuts out the center of the heart. And if I don't want to, like I said, I'm just going to undo so that it goes back.
Okay.
And then it's going to turn that engrave into a digital file that I can go engrave on that wood.
Okay, that's awesome.
Here, let's go back and we'll just grab the thing here. There we go.
Yeah,
I'm going to say place artwork. And of course, I've got to arrange it so that it lands in the right place. You know, this might be sideways, that might be sideways. No problem at all.
Perfect.
I'm going to grab this. I'm going to turn it just a little bit like so. So it's lined up. I can make it a little bigger.
Perfect.
Does that look like what you're thinking of?
Yes, that looks perfect. That looks fantastic.
All
so
right.
You're using your MacBook right now. I know Steve had a question about whether you could use other devices such as phones, iPads.
That's a great question. Let me hit print on here. It's going to go send your drawing over onto the Glowforge to print. And this actually is a Windows machine. This is a Surface Pro, and you can see, just for a little variety, instead of engraving it, I actually made a hardwood sticker. This is another proof grade material we sell. It's solid walnut and maple with a 3M veneer, so you can print on it and then immediately go stick it on just about anything. It's a really gorgeous material. And so you can use it on Windows machines. You can use it on Macs. You can use it on Linux machines. You can use it on Chromebooks. And in fact, many of our schools use this on Chromebooks. And it's really wonderful because it means everybody can access this from their own device.
Okay, fantastic.
And there we go. This is going to be a 4-minute print.
Okay.
And as the software says, it's magic time.
Yes,
we'll go
it
push
is
the button
magic time.
and start that engraving.
All right, very exciting. So one of the other questions we got from chat was, what does it look like to print on materials that aren't proof grade? Since we have masking tape on our proof grade or a protective coating, what does it look like to do that on a non-proof grade material?
Yeah, we've already done a paper print on a material that came from the paper store. It's not proof grade material that we sell.
Oh, okay.
And so, you know, this paper print that we did is a good example. The secret to doing it successfully is to take a little time and be willing to do a little experimenting. If you're bringing your own material, then the way I typically approach it is I do lots of squares, and I'll cut out a small square at the lowest power setting, and then if it doesn't cut through, I'll turn it up a little bit. If it doesn't come through, I'll turn it up a little bit more. I will also go to one of the most amazing places on the internet, our community forum. Our community forum has thousands of people who are all there sharing knowledge and wisdom and tips and ideas. And so if I go in there and I type in engraved slate, I will find dozens of of suggestions for where people buy slate, settings that they can use, techniques and tactics for getting just the most gorgeous print out of it. Because it's very easy to do something quick and simple, but there are opportunities to do stuff that's truly transformative. And the forum will give you all sorts of different ideas for how you can get the most out of it. So in that case, I would go to the forum and I'd look for information about paper, and I would start trying some of those settings. And by experimenting a little bit, I'll be able to dial that in, and then the Glowforge software will remember your settings forever. So anytime you go buy that paper, you can pick Xerox 20-pound test copy paper, and it'll load that automatically, and it's ready to go.
Okay, that's awesome.
I think we also had some questions about, we were talking about Wi-Fi, and we had some questions about that. It's important to know that you do need Wi-Fi in order to use your Glowforge. Once it starts, it operates offline. So once the print begins, then it can print happily through the entirety of it. But because everything happens through a web browser, you do need to have Wi-Fi connectivity in order to first start your print. And you can see right now we're already halfway through this trace. It's transforming your pen and ink drawing into an actual engraving.
That is amazing.
And if you wanted to, you could create cutouts as well. You don't just have to use drawings. By simply clicking on the drawing, you can transform a line from an engraving to a cut. And it is so rewarding to see a child go take a drawing of theirs, put it in the Glowforge, and come back with something that they can hold and touch. My son was reading The Hobbit and got very excited, and he went and drew a sword like the sword from the Hobbit, put it in, put a piece of plywood, and pretty soon I had to take away the sword because he was going and banging on things with it. But it was the most amazing and fulfilling experience for him. One of the things I want for my kids, and I want for every kid, is to know that you don't just have to buy things. There's an opportunity in this world to make things. In order to do that, you need tools. And this tool is really unique because it gives anyone, for a child, an artist, an architect, a designer, an engineer, an entrepreneur, the ability to instantly become somebody who can produce things in wood, in paper, in leather, in cloth, in fabric, in stone, even engraved chocolate bars. And you can do all that with the same simple software that's included for free with the device, with the design software that you already know and love, like Photoshop and Illustrator and even PowerPoint, or with just your pen. And that ability to create things, it's like the ability to cook for yourself. It's something everybody deserves and everybody should have. And it's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about what we do here at Glowforge.
Yeah. In the chat, I know that we've got a whole ton of questions about other materials too, so I wanted to kind of walk over and take a look at some of the other stuff. Bling Pig Press, I think, was asking about some acrylics. So let's take a look at some of the other projects that some Glowforge owners have done. So these are one of my favorite things to look through. The creativity out there just stuns me. I'm always amazed by the things that people are able to create and to think up. It feels like I would never be able to think of something on my own, but when you get started, it's so easy. You just start out with a trace, draw a photo, and then get started from there.
So do you want to walk folks through some of what we're seeing
here?
Here?
So here's one that is an acrylic kind of table example for a wedding. So here we've just got some paint on the back, and then these pieces fit in together absolutely perfectly. So both of these were cut on a Glowforge, and they just make the perfect kind of personalized wedding invitation with just a little bit of gold fill, I believe, inside the acrylic. So that's just a really beautiful little touch, as well as the same wedding had this beautiful cake topper, which is painted, I believe, and it's just so easy to make things that are so personalized and customized out of just so many different materials. So this is one of my favorite things that was also done for the wedding, which was some macarons. So these are some beautiful engraves on a macaron. I'm so surprised that you can even do this on food. I've seen on social that you can do it on marshmallows, which is absolutely incredible. So actually, I think both sides of these were done as well. So yeah, here we've got some more felt pieces. So I know that someone in the chat was really interested in felt, and you can engrave on felt, you can cut it. And so this was just one really cool, intricate design for a place setting that was also kind of matching with that same wedding theme. And so many people I know really enjoy games. That's one of the things that people are the most fascinated by, is how they can build their game
Upgrades.
boards. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so I know this is from a Catan board.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
A Settlers of Catan custom design board. This is actually a free design that we have available, so anybody can print it. This is just one piece of the giant pentagon or hexagon that creates Settlers of Catan. We've also got this unbelievable over-the-top gaming set that has cards and dice and a map that's engraved, and the whole thing wraps up for travel. That's truly spectacular.
And this entire thing was done on a Glowforge, is that correct?
Exactly. Everything except the magic
dice
cards
one.
and the dice.
Wow. And all this engraving as well was also done on the Glowforge too?
Exactly. I think that's a giant octopus. Yep.
Yes. Wow, that's so cool.
And since they were asking about different types of acrylics, it's worth noting that we have tons of different colors, transparent, fluorescent, and while we don't sell them, you can even get acrylic that's two-colored, and it engraves one color, and the surface is one color and engraves a different color.
Oh wow!
So it can be
cool.
white, and then you engrave it, and it turns silver underneath, or black, and it turns red when you engrave it. Lots of different options. We also have a host of different materials over here. I know our mobile cam is being a little finicky, but we can try and get. We've got some different leathers. We've got plywoods, hardwoods, a material called draftwood that's really inexpensive and fast and easy to work with. We've got veneers, like I used on my laptop, which I showed earlier. And then we've got just some of the different colors of acrylic that we have in place.
Since we're going over the proof grade, Matthew had a question about how expensive or affordable the proof grade materials are.
Yeah, a piece of basswood starts at $5. A sheet of draftboard starts at $4 for a full sheet. And then some of the premium materials go up to $20 or even $30 for a giant sheet of really thick premium leather or something like that. So it really varies depending on the material. And of course, you don't have to use those materials. You can source locally from people in the neighborhood, and you can reuse. My son did an amazing piece for school where he took a bunch of ceramic tiles that he bought at the reuse store, and he spent something like 25 cents each, and then engraved the ceramic tiles, which removed the glaze, and then painted over them with watercolors and wiped off. And so what was left was the watercolor painting. Everything wiped off the glaze. My son's 10. And then he went and sold these for like fake money for a school fundraiser. It was
that's
incredible.
fantastic.
People couldn't believe that he made these things, but it was really as simple as choosing the material, choosing the design. It was just a JPEG, just a bitmap that he found, a picture of soccer ball and school mascot, drag it into place, and hit print.
All right. Well, I think my trace is done, so
Oh, yeah.
let's go pull that out. I'm really excited
Fantastic.
to see how that turned
Oh,
out.
and actually, before we show that, let's take a quick look at the screen.
Okay.
So for people who didn't see how it started, we can show the before and after. So to briefly recap, we have the drawing that you did, and then we dragged it over here, and you can just barely see the shadow underneath of the engraving that the Glowforge created. Let's go see what it looks like in person.
All right. I'm very excited to pull this one out. All right. So again,
there's your drawing.
Here was my drawing that we just did on a piece of material, and then we copy and pasted that straight onto this fantastic keepsake.
Yeah.
This is going to be perfect to give to my friends for their first time. I know they're really excited. Buying a home is a really big accomplishment, so I'm really excited to give something so personalized for them.
And we're going to give every one of you the PDF for this file so that you can create one yourself, not including a PDF of great First Home 2019. That one's yours forever. But you can put whatever message you want on that. And again, even if you don't have your Glowforge yet, you're going to be able to look at that file. You're going to be able to see how it's put together and say, oh, okay, like that's how Glowforge files work. And it's really simple. It's just a PDF.
Yeah.
It's a great way to see how that works. We're going back over here and showing some 1/4-inch plywood that we started printing earlier. You can see all this intricate woodworking is almost finished. And we're going to be able to pull these out. I think we've just got about 5 minutes left on this print. I cannot wait to show you the final result. This has been running the entire time.
Yeah. So we got a question from San Fran Unified School District, which was, how does this work in a school environment? You were talking about how your son uses your Glowforge. What does that look like around kids?
Yeah, one of my happiest moments was when I got an email from my son's kindergarten teacher. He's now in 4th grade. and son and daughter, I have twins, and they were in the same class. So it was both of their kindergarten teacher, and she said, hey, I just got a grant. I'm looking at buying one of these products, and I saw your name on the website. Do you know anything about it? And I knew. It's so amazing to put one of these in a school. A friend of mine runs Lane Tech in Chicago and has been working with lasers for years. And so he has a ton of experience with these. There are other teachers who've just gotten them in and are putting these in and giving kids access to these as young as kindergarten, which requires very close supervision and an adult to operate it, because the software needs to be operated by an adult. All the way up to colleges. University of Washington has about a dozen Glowforge units in a giant lab. So there's a few things that make this really wonderful for a school. First and foremost, safety. The Glowforge Basic and Plus are Class 1 laser devices, which is the most safe designation. It's like a DVD player. The Glowforge Pro is a Class 4 device, which means there needs to be somebody in the room who's read through all the training materials to operate it. So you have two that are as safe as a DVD player and one that comes with everything that you need to operate it safely, the Pro. The Pro is Class 4 because of the pass-through slot. We'll talk a little bit more about what the Pro makes the Pro special in a minute.
Okay.
But the second thing that's important is these are certified to UL standards. So we've had an independent testing house exhaustively examine the machine, test it, and ensure that it is safe to operate. Finally, we have a product available called the compact filter. You can see it underneath. The compact filter has been tested with proof-grade materials and Glowforge units to ensure that it removes anything harmful that may be coming out of these. There's been a lot of press, and there's our feet, and there's a compact filter. There's been a lot of press about how traditional 3D printers that use plastic can send tiny particles in the air because they're not enclosed, and so particles can fly out, and the impact of that on health is not yet known. So we actually worked with air quality specialists to understand the materials, the laser, and the filter so that these could be operated safely and reliably indoors. You can also vent through a window if you don't want to use the filter, and many of our customers just use a nearby window and use that for ventilation. In either case, there's a great option that can work for you at a school or a home or apartment or the like.
Okay.
It's also really wonderful because while schools have bought 3D printers, what they find is the average print on a traditional 3D printer that makes things out of plastic will take hours.
Oh,
so I made a little, I like traditional 3D printers too. I made a little plastic dragon, and it took an hour to make a plastic dragon that was this big for my son because he was excited about dragons.
Yeah.
And I made my daughter a box that she wanted, a jewelry box, and I found the design online because with traditional 3D printers you have to use CAD software, which I'm not very good at. So I found a design that already existed, but the print took 4 hours to produce this. And in a school, it's really hard to do something for one student for 4 hours. Compared to a Glowforge, where most of the prints we did took less than 5 minutes. An entire classroom full of kids can rotate through using it. And because the interface is via the web, they can each use their own Chromebook or Windows or Mac or iPad or iOS app, because we have an app for iOS to go prepare everything. So as soon as it's free, swap in the next one and get ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned a little bit earlier that we were going to talk more about the Pro. I know we get a lot of questions about which one is right for me. So can you talk a little bit more about what the difference is between all of the models?
Absolutely. So we have the Glowforge Basic here, which is a great product, and nobody's going to be sad that they have a Glowforge Basic because it makes amazing things. It's 40 watts. It comes with a 6-month warranty that covers everything, and it's ready to go right out of the gate. So you'll be up and printing in 30 minutes. And everything that you've seen today, you can make with the Glowforge Basic. The Glowforge Plus is an amazing upgrade. It actually offers, it looks like we've got a print ready to go. The second one of these. It offers a more powerful laser. It offers upgraded optics. It offers a double warranty, 12 months instead of 6. And so it's going to be more powerful, faster, and better for somebody who's really serious about getting the most from their product. And that's $39.95. Finally, the Glowforge Pro is the ultimate.
Okay.
It has the more powerful laser. It has the upgraded optics. It has the faster cutting speed. It also, and the double warranty. It also has upgraded cooling so you can run non-stop all day. Okay. Whereas the other units may pause, especially when it's warm in the room, because they're designed for hobby use or for home use. The Pro is designed to be used continuously and to run so that you can stay in production the whole time.
Okay.
The Pro also has the signature pass-through slot. The pass-through slot lets you use truly enormous materials. Materials that are as big as 20 inches by as long as you want, like 8 feet. You put one end in, you start the print, then you move it forward, continue the print until you printed something enormous. So we printed desk lamps, we printed furniture. It's the opportunity to create things that are truly stunning and memorable. You won't be sad whichever one you get, but we certainly get a lot of people who call and say, can I go upgrade my basic to a Pro? Unfortunately, there is no way for us to do an upgrade, so it's worth getting whichever one you think is the right fit from the very outset.
Yeah, we had some questions about what it looks like to start a business with Glowforge, and I know Dustin was concerned about some examples of maybe some people who have started businesses that are very successful and maybe have even paid back their Glowforge with their business.
Oh, this is one of my favorite things to see. If you go to community.glowforge.com, there's so much wonderful discussion about how people are using their Glowforge to provide for themselves, to provide for their families, to transform from somebody who's working a day job to somebody who's working, who's now a stay-at-home working parent and creating a business from the comfort of their own home. A great place to see this is on Instagram. If you look at the Glowforge hashtag on Instagram, you will see so many people who are creating livelihoods for themselves using their Glowforge unit. And of course, just as many people who are using it for fun and for hobby and recreation.
Yeah.
What we find is about a third of our customers are buying this just for themselves and for their hobbies. A third are using it for part-time, like selling something on Etsy or eBay, and a third are using it to start a business that they plan to sustain themselves.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we see businesses from jewelry stores to leather crafting. We see businesses from custom engravings to trophy shops. We see people coming up with, and then just odds and ends, people who find things that need to be done, engrave guitar picks, and they'll do that on an hourly basis.
So a lot of people do this from their home, and I know that a lot of people in chat are really interested about hearing more about the compact filter. So you mentioned earlier that it takes the fumes and the smoke from your Glowforge and it filters it out into clean air. Is that what that kind of looks like?
Yeah, actually the air that comes out of the compact filter is generally cleaner than indoor air in Seattle. And indoor air in Seattle is pretty clean, has a lower particle count. So it lets you operate it anywhere. Without the compact filter, you'll want to position it near a window. And there's a vent, same vent as you'd use for a dryer that you can use to vent outside. It's a very small volume of material, less than if you had a fire in your backyard and burned a stick of wood, but it's enough that it can be an irritant and it needs to be vented outside. The compact filter takes that away. With the compact filter, it removes the smells, it removes the irritants, and you can run it indoors anywhere, so you don't need to be near a window in order to do that. And I should mention that all three models work with a compact filter, so you can use that with the Basic or the Plus or the Pro. It also has a cartridge inside that's easy to pull out and change. We find that under average use, and use varies a lot, but under average use, it'll last most customers, it'll last the average customer about 6 months.
And that's
but it
the
really
filter,
depends.
right?
That's the compact filter.
Just the filter.
The Glowforge itself doesn't wear out. After a couple of years, you may need to have the tube swapped, and we can do that for you. We're also making tube replacements available. But beyond that, the only maintenance is wiping it off with a little wipe and pulling out the bits. Yeah. Speaking of pulling out the bits,
yes,
let's pull out the bits.
I'm so excited to pull out this special lantern.
We've been printing this through the entire show, and it is time to see the results.
All right, let's just pull this up. Look at that beautiful cut. I'm always so impressed with how easily the pieces come out, especially things that are you just pull them straight out.
And so this design is a great example. This is a two-piece design. We've got the other piece printed on the other unit that's designed to snap together. Now, because this is proof-grade material, it has this protective coating, which allows it to be protected through the printing process. And it's really easy to remove. Some people like doing it with their fingers and will sit there and fidget with it. I like to take a shortcut and use a piece of tape. So you can see right here, I'm going to just lay a piece of duct tape down on here, stick it down in place, and when I peel it off, you're going to see the gorgeous hardwood plywood that's underneath. Look at that beautiful material. It is so satisfying to see what comes out of this. So rather than finish this up, let's swap in the pieces that we've already printed, and you can see the results here. So you can see these just slot together to assemble the final results, and we have two versions. This one on the left, I believe it's on this one right here, yes, on camera left, is exactly as it comes out of the Glowforge unit. It's got frosted acrylic on the inside to make the diffusers. It's got walnut plywood on the outside and just a battery-powered lamp dropped in there. It's also incredibly easy to just add a circle and cut out the material in the bottom to go if you wanted to go and have a lamp that plugged into the wall. And everything just slides together. This one's been embellished a little bit. We use some foil paper that we cut and applied to this to give those beautiful highlights that you see all around the edge. Oh my gosh, we had over 400 people RSVP. We had more than 350 questions ahead of time, more coming in nonstop, and we've only got 4 minutes left.
I know.
I feel like we just started.
We should start giving out that discount code for all those people that did decide to tune in.
Absolutely.
So,
do you want to do the honors?
Yes, I will. So the discount is glowforge.com/May live discount. And I believe
all one word.
Yeah, all one word.
MAYLIVEDISCOUNT. Yes, I can spell. Okay. And are they going to have a chance to get that afterwards? Are we going to be able to email this to people?
Yes. So right afterwards, don't worry. If you had to tune out for a couple seconds, you didn't miss anything, you will get the discount in an email afterwards to make sure that you can apply that. It will be good until the end of the month.
Yeah, this is a May only discount code. And it's only available to people who tune into this live stream. So I know everybody who's here reserved a spot. I think we got in everybody who wanted to. Oh my gosh. Hi, all 350 to 400 of you. And that discount code is just for you. So it's going to let you get the Glowforge Basic, Plus, or Pro by the end of the month. And it's going to apply whatever method of payment you use. And there's a couple options there that we have for people. I know that was one of the other, Abby was asking about financing options. Oh, and Jenny was asking if she could invest in the company. Thank you, Jenny. Unfortunately, we don't have shares for sale to the public right now. We do have Glowforge units available. And you've got your choice of using a credit card. I believe we accept PayPal right now. And PayPal also offers payments. And finally, you can do monthly payments with Affirm. There's a credit provider, and so you go through a short credit check there, and they'll tell you if they can offer you monthly payments. So you have your choice of different ways to pay. For schools or other large institutions, you can contact us about a PO. Just email us at support@glowforge.com, and we can tell you about setting that up. That's only available to schools and other large institutions to submit purchase orders.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so it looks like we've got 2 minutes left. So I wanted to ask you, I know we didn't get through all of the questions, but if there's one thing that you could tell someone out there who's interested in purchasing a Glowforge that you really want to, what do you think that one most important thing is that they should know?
You know, I wish everybody could have a Glowforge, and I know that not everybody can. I know that at this price point, it's a major decision for you, for your family, for your friends, for your business, or for all the people who are going to be impacted by this. It is a sense of magic, though, that I can barely begin to describe. I don't expect you to take my word for it. I expect you're going to go and look at the Instagram Glowforge hashtag and see what people are making. You're going to go look at community.glowforge.com and you're going to see what people are saying and what their experiences have been. And you're going to think about the impact that this can have on your life, on your family, on your friends, and on what it means to be a part of making in the world, not just buying. I think that there's an increasing number of things that we can create for ourselves, that we don't need to buy from a factory halfway around the world and put on a container ship, and that the things that we make ourselves can be better than the things we buy from a store, more special, higher quality material, exactly the things, what we need and when we need them and for the purpose that they're needed. And the opportunity to do that for yourself and for your family is something that I want for everybody, and I hope you get to experience it too. Whether you're a woodworker or a paper crafter, whether you're a leather worker or a designer, whether you're an artist, whether you're a 5-year-old child, or whether you are none of those things, but just somebody who can see the magic in what this tool can do for you, I hope you have the opportunity to get one and try it for yourself.
That's fantastic advice and information. So thank you so much for tuning into this live stream with us. I hope that we got some of your questions answered. As always, you can reach out to us if you have some open-ended questions that we didn't answer for you. But thank you so much for tuning in, and thanks so much for asking us questions. I had a ton of fun showing you all of the prints that we can make here.
I can't believe what we did in an hour while simultaneously making live YouTube.
I know, and talking and answering all those questions. So thank you so much for tuning in. We hope to see you later.
With all these free designs for you to enjoy and appreciate yourself. Thanks for tuning in today.
Yes, thanks. Again, that live discount is going to be available afterwards in email. And so thanks so much for tuning in. We will talk to you later.